Welcome back to the Home Recording Show. This is episode 318, and today we're going to talk about the new Apple Silicon stuff now that we're both on this platform. So, Ryan,
Should you do introductions?
Oh, yeah, we should probably do introductions. I'm Jon Tidey.
I'm Ryan Canestro.
So, Ryan, you just got the M2 MacBook, is that right?
I did. I got the M2 MacBook Air.
Okay. And I'm running the Mac Studio. Did we do an episode about that?
We got into it.
It came up in conversation.
Yeah.
But yeah, now that we're both on that M1, M2 platform, Apple Silicon, let's talk about our experiences with that.
Yeah, and in reference to audio, obviously. And that's why I bought mine. But I'll tell you a little story of the whole thing. So I bought the M2 knowing I'm going to upgrade. I want to integrate it into my audio cart system that I've just been building and rebuilding. I've been so busy with work lately, and we might have missed a podcast or two, but I was doing a shoot last Sunday. Actually, we're doing a live concert, and hottest day of the year. It was 109 degrees at its peak, and it was outdoors all day. So I had the M2 at home, but I hadn't had a chance to even do more than turn it on. Yep, it works. Close it. So I've been using the same 2011 MacBook Pro I've been using for years. So we're doing the show, the computer's overheating, so I had to put it on ice. And I'm using the computer to do the full recording of the show and to control the preamp gains of the stage box that's underneath the stage. Well, after a couple hours, the computer started drinking the water from the condensation, and it just turned off. And then I lifted it up, and water came out of the bottom of the computer. The smoke came out. All of those things happened. So the 2011 MacBook Pro that has been going for a decade solid died a warrior's death. So my one day off that week forced me to set up the M2 and take it out with no testing on a job first thing Tuesday.
Nice.
And I was very pleasantly surprised. There were some pain points. There were a couple things that I wasn't expecting, things that should have worked that just didn't. And come to find out they won't, but it's fast. So just starting off with that, it's lightning fast, especially compared to a 2011 MacBook Pro.
Yeah. Well, no kidding. Really. I mean, the M1 platform is just so damn fast. And with the internal storage, the downside is that it's like soldered in. You can't upgrade it, can't expand it internally. But that connection is just so fast that it's really incredible, the speeds that you get transferring files, writing things. Like that bottleneck is just completely gone.
So on the M2 Air specifically, and it might apply to some other models, there are 2 chip slots for the hard drive. And if you order the 256 gig model, there's only 1 chip in those slots. So you actually lose speed on your transfers because there aren't 2 chips there to have 2 separate buses. So definitely upgrade to the 512, even though it's painful. You won't be able to upgrade any other way, which is also a thing I don't love about the direction Macs have gone. You can't just put in your own drives. But definitely do that upgrade because the speed increase for your hard drive is significant. Even if you don't need the space, you're going to want the speed.
I tend to buy the base models of anything, just because unless you can find them refurbished, there's usually it's a very significant price increase for the extended storage.
Yeah. But you can't upgrade. You can't upgrade the memory. You can't upgrade the hard drive space. So whatever you buy it as is what you get. So
yeah.
Knowing that, I just kind of, I went 512 and then I maxed out the memory at 24 gig. So this little thing's a monster.
Yeah. And silent. There's no fans.
No fans.
There is the potential it will thermally
throttle.
Thermal throttle. Not going to be as bad as that the 2011 one or really any of the previous models for that. There's the potential, like if it had a fan, it would perform better, but without a fan, like it's smaller, it's lighter, all this stuff.
So yesterday I was recording 16 channels of audio to the internal hard drive. I was running Reaper for playback. I was running Dante Virtual Controller, Dante Virtual Sound Card, and there was one other application. I was running a bunch of stuff that was all working. Looked at the activity monitor, and it was running at about 12 to 13% of the CPU, and it was cool to the touch.
Yeah, on my Mac Studio, for my screen recording and my video production, I've got two 4K cameras, a 1080p webcam, 1440p screen capture, two monitors, multiple audio interfaces, and OBS running, Reaper running, all this stuff, and it's been working flawlessly. Yeah, so really love this system.
So what I haven't loved is that I have to use a dock for everything. And for Dante audio, it's all over IP. I need the network port. So the only way to get in is a dongle or a dock. And I don't love that. But
Yep.
I bought a dock on the eBay, and turns out I got a bad dock. So I tried it on Windows, Mac, and Linux, multiple computers, different monitors, just it didn't work. And then of course the guy on eBay is like not going to do a return. So that'll be a fun little dispute. But then I bought an Anchor dock. It's a small one, $100. I'm using it right now for the USB in and out for the audio and the video. And the network port works great. I've used it with all the Dante stuff. It worked flawlessly. So pretty happy about that. And it also powers the computer. So one cable into my laptop, I could hide this dock in my cart. All the connections happen internally, and one cable for power and all of my data, which is kind of amazing. So that was pretty cool. The only thing I don't like about this dock is every time you power down, you have to push the button to turn it back on. It won't automatically power back up. So I'm going to have to make it somewhat accessible to get to it if I choose to use it. The one thing that upset me was I have this PCIe card for Dante, and it was in my 2006 Mac Pro, and I was still keeping that old beast alive just because it has a PCIe card slot. So, and the program I use is Mac only. So the only other upgrade option was $6,000 for the new Macs, and that wasn't going to happen. So I said, I'm just going to get this computer. I'm going to put it in an enclosure. We'll use Thunderbolt. It'll be great. Well, after trying to install it for about an hour, in the latest revision of the software, in a folder, 3 files deep, at the very bottom of a file, under the notifications, it says, we are not going to support M1 or M2 on this device, and we never plan to. So there's going to be some things like that where stuff that you have will not be able to transfer over, ever. And this is a $1,000 PCIe card that I will never be able to use on any of Apple's products going forward.
There's a lot of that stuff. It's mostly the software that I've run into. Yeah, all the older hardware that I had was discontinued more like in the Monterey or even like El Capitan era. So like 4 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So I already had a bit of that painfulness. And you kind of get used to that. Like unless you're like constantly upgrading like every couple of years, then like anything that you plan on keeping for like 10 years that connects to a computer, like you gotta just, it's temporary. You gotta
I know.
Treat it as temporary. Yeah.
And I really wanted to hold on to it. So what I did immediately after buying this brand new M2 Air for lots of monies, I went on the eBay and found the last Mac Mini that has an Intel chip in it, bought that specifically just to work with this PCIe card. So at least I'll have a thing that's not from 2006.
And that's going to be as a backup or what? I'm not sure what that thing is.
So
PCIe.
So that is for recording high track counts. That will do 128 channels of Dante. So if I do have anything greater than 64 channels, which is all of what the Dante virtual sound card will do on a regular network port, if I need double, then I can do it on this card. So if I need 65 channels, I'm either running 2 systems or this one card on one system.
Okay.
And the latency is really, really low. So for like studio-based recording, high track count, this thing is fantastic.
Cool.
And maybe Focusrite's going to come out with a new one for the M2, but I'm not holding my breath. And PCIe cards are kind of going away anyway.
They really are. Yeah. How about things like all the security changes?
There are a lot. Like I had to just disable 1,000 things just to get anything to work. So I don't know what Apple's thinking there. I know they want to make everything locked down and protected for the average user, but does that mean like no one's installing anything on some of these computers? They're just using Safari and Apple Mail and just staying in Apple's little walled garden?
And I guess web-based, like web apps, right?
I guess.
Facebook running in browser, Google Maps, and all the Google Suite stuff.
And I would imagine that's probably what 90% of what people do, and maybe a high percentage of people, that's all they ever do.
Chromebooks, like how many people are using Chromebooks as like their daily computer and like think nothing else of it?
Yeah.
Or just their phone, like for everything. There's so many people just using their phone for everything.
Yeah.
But if you run a studio, if you even home studio, personal stuff, you're going to be in that security and privacy preference page like at least once a week.
Well, I was just setting up OBS just now for today's show on this new computer, and I had to go through some flaming hoops just to, click on this, click on that. Oh, what is this even asking me? Okay, I have to go to the application folder to pick OBS for. It was kind of wild. And when I first set up this machine, I was trying to load drivers for things, and I had to log out, hold on to the start button to go into another menu, to go into a security find it somewhere like in near the BIOS or whatever that recovery screen is, to disable some security settings that are loaded in at startup, just to be able to load outside of Apple applications.
Yeah, certain drivers need that kind of thing. It's just to reduce the equivalent of viruses, essentially.
Yeah. And I don't go to, especially with this computer, it's very purposeful, and I'm not going to go do all kinds of crazy, stupid stuff or go to weird websites or anything with it. So for me, I'm not concerned, but I can see an average user, they're just trying to lock it down so their product never breaks, customer service never gets a call, because they just can't do these things. And most people will see a screen pop up, you can't do this, or okay.
For Reaper, there's a couple extensions. There's the SWS extension and the Repack extension. And then there's Control Surface Integrator, or anything that you're going to use to manage your control surfaces. These all need to be installed as extensions. So you're going through these security checks every single time, and you have to do one at a time. So it's like, let's start with just like installing Reaper. That needs to be approved by right-click, open, approve it, give it microphone privileges, give it accessibility so you can assign keyboard shortcuts, and then quit. Install the first extension, right-click, open, and you'll get a pop-up say you can't do this. So you quit Reaper, approve it in the preference page, and then reopen, and then it'll still say you can't do it until you quit again. It's like multi-step process. I've done it like dozens of times already, and it's annoying every time, but I'm getting faster at it, I think.
Yeah, I installed SWS, and it was kind of a little bit of a fist fight, but I made my way through. So what are some of the things on Reaper with this platform that's different that we might want to do that we're not thinking of, having set it up 100 times before? What might be different beyond the security stuff? I've set up Reaper, I've set up SWS, I've just got them working. I've done basic playback for the job, so I had to get it up and working, and I was just doing playback. So playing the track, starting, stopping, I was able to import my settings and do that. But going forward, I did buy a whole bunch of new Waves plugins. I repurchased some stuff I couldn't find license keys for. So I have a bunch of stuff that's ready to go in. I haven't even started that process. What should I be watching out for? What should I be careful with? What's going to be different with that whole architecture change?
The installation of plugins is really simple. You don't have to do anything. It's basically the same as it always has been. Run the installer, enter your password if prompted, restart Reaper, and you'll see it. the main thing you want to watch out for is whatever things you install, they should be the M1 compatible Apple Silicon or ARM64. All these things are basically the same thing. And it makes a big difference in the performance. So it's going to run natively. It doesn't need to be bridged or wrapped in order to run when Reaper's running natively Apple Silicon. But that said, if something's not compatible with that yet, you can still run it as Rosetta. Reaper will bridge that, and you'll be able to run that kind of as a separate process.
And that happens automatically?
It's all automatic. So that's done during the plugin scanning process.
'Cause I don't know if any of the Wave stuff yet has been ported over to ARM. Do you know if it has?
I'm pretty sure it is if you're up to date.
Cool. Well, I just purchased it, haven't even downloaded it yet.
So all that stuff is good. With Waves, you wanted to use the VST3. I'm pretty sure all of those things will work. Yeah, but we're like 2 years into this transition. It's already...
And that's why I waited too.
It's so much better than it was.
And I knew that transition was going to be rough, and I just did not want to be on the bleeding edge of that.
Yeah, I had to pay for Contact and Isotope RX. And there's a couple others that I haven't upgraded yet. MicDSP Futzbox. You have to buy the newest version, released this year, to get that working. I'm still waiting for the IK Multimedia to update their T-Rex line, because I'm using that stuff a lot. And those are pretty much the only ones I'm using bridged.
I haven't used that in a while. That's like a blast from the past plugin for me.
The most recent version has been great. I really love their plugins. But yeah, they're just a bit behind on that. And it's one of those things because there's like 50 individual plugins that they have to update. It's just, I guess it's just taking a while. Whereas like Amplitude has been compatible for 6 months or something like that. But it's one plugin that holds a ton of other things. So I think those are a little bit easier to update. Yeah, in terms of like preferences and optimization stuff, I'm not really doing much. Occasionally you run into an issue where you've got a project that's like medium-ish, low to medium CPU, and it will kind of glitch when it's switching between the efficiency cores and the high performance cores in like an actual mix where you're actually taxing the system. It's solid all the time. But like some of those times when
transitioning back and forth.
Yeah, like going between tracks record armed and not. Sometimes there'll be like a glitch or something like that, which is kind of weird. I think it's just the core switching. And I don't know. Right now I've got my stuff kind of all on the default automatic, but any of the buffers, I've got that lower than usual. This is pretty Reaper specific, so probably not applicable to most of our listeners. But in terms of optimization, like there's really nothing. Like you used to remember the days when you had to turn off Wi-Fi and Bluetooth?
Oh yeah.
It's none of that.
No. I mean, this computer can take so much and just be like, yeah, come on, keep bringing it. Because people are doing online these experiments with massive video loads and really hitting this thing hard, and then getting into thermal throttling, but not significantly bad. I'm never going to do anything even remotely like that with audio.
Like thermally throttling to the point of maxing out an Intel CPU? Yeah, cool. That's still pretty good.
Yeah.
So yeah, at worst it runs as good as last year's models.
Yeah, and I mean basically this Air runs as good as the Mac Pro line at $6,000, which is ridiculous.
I'm very happy with what I paid for the Mac Studio, the base model, at 2,500 Canadian. It's like it's $1,000 too cheap.
And I'm definitely happier with this than I thought I would be, and I knew it would be fast, but it's even fast compared to what I thought it was going to be. And yeah, definitely compared to a 2011, it's night and day. It's lightning. It's
such a lightweight computer, like best keyboard, best trackpad by far. So, and that screen is really beautiful.
It really is.
So,
and this is going to be I haven't had a proper recording studio in a while. So I'm rebuilding that now. I'm forcing myself back into doing music for fun, for human enjoyment. I'm going to try that, see what it's like.
Cool.
And I'm sure Pro Tools works on it too, right? So We said
Um,
that.
yeah, I don't know about that. So that's pretty much it for the Mac stuff to talk about, I think.
Yeah, mostly
Thank
good.
you.
Only a handful of pain points, but I'm going to say I'm pretty happy.
Yeah, and some of those things will just improve over the next few months to the next year. There's another big OS update coming up. It's already in beta, I think, or developer preview right now. So every year they add new things. Have you had a chance to try out Sidecar?
I have not. What is it?
So Sidecar is using a iPad as a wireless external screen.
Okay. Yeah.
So I've used that a little bit for video editing. It's not as good as a dedicated HDMI monitor, but it is pretty cool. And occasionally I've been dragging and dropping things from my desktop to my iPad wirelessly, and like just being able to move your mouse between devices is it's kind of magic. It's really cool.
That is pretty cool.
So Sidecar and what is that? Universal control is that function where you can drag and drop items rather than having to go through AirDrop, which is still extremely convenient if coming from any other system, any Windows-based, Windows plus Android. I can't think of anything like to transfer files easily. AirDrop is just awesome, but universal control, just dragging and dropping a file into a image editing app on the iPad is really cool.
Yeah, they definitely nailed their own ecosystem and making things interoperable. It's pretty amazing. And yeah, I haven't had a chance to play with any of that yet, but I'm going to have an external monitor with this. I'll be able to take it on the road, use it on my audio cart, bring it in, make it my recording studio in my my room.
Yeah, when you're traveling, like having, if you had to edit
Yeah.
and plug into your hotel room TV for your external monitor,
Yeah.
like that'd be really great.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what this thing could do. I've only been using it now for I think 5 days since Tuesday, and it's already been on 3 different sets, very different environments, playback, recording, and so far it's handled it no problem.
All right, so that's where we're going to leave this one for today. Thank you so much for watching and listening. And if you want to support the show, you can go to buymeacoffee.com/HRS podcast. And yeah, send us a little donation and get your name in the show notes. Thanks again.
Thanks. We'll see you next time.